Today we will be looking at the adverbials of time on page 269 of your Voices at Play textbook. Please get your stationery and your Voices at Play book ready. Okay, so you may have learned about adverbs and adverb phrases. So some adverbs and adverb phrases can provide information related to time, and they belong to a larger group of words and phrases called adverbials of time. So this adverbials of time, what does it tell us? It tells us the duration, okay, which is for how long an action has happened. So certain examples of duration includes for a full day, for a year, since 1965, all day. So it tells you how long an action has happened. So another one is frequency, how often an action has happened. So you can see words like rarely, frequently. Okay, so these type of words are adverbs. Yes, adverbs are words that usually ends with ly, right? Often, always, seldom, weekly, daily. Okay, every century. So it tells you how often an action happened. Another adverbials of time include talk about time when an action happens. So it can be yesterday, today, tomorrow, later, or next year. So when it comes to these adverbials of time, there's a particular order how it is being arranged. So let me go through this. Okay. So for example, when using one adverbial or sentence, follow this order. Which one is the first one? First one is duration. Okay, duration, for how long. So that's the first one. Second one, frequency, how often. Okay, and last one, time. Okay, so let's take a look. How does this look in an example? Okay, so I practice playing the piano, playing for about an hour every day at 4 o'clock. About an hour. So that tells you for how long. That is the duration. Alright? Okay. So for duration is in the first order. Next, every day. Every day tells you the frequency, how often. Okay. So that's the second part of adverbials of time. At 4 o'clock, it tells you when. Right? So that is the time. Next, the soldiers slept in the trenches for about 3 hours last night. So, about 3 hours. That tells you for how long. That is duration. Okay, last night tells you when. So that is the time. Okay, next, the villagers swam in the river for about 2 hours every afternoon. So, for how long? That is the duration. Okay, every afternoon tells you when. So that's the time. Okay. Okay. So, now, let's complete the task to see whether you've understood the guidelines. Okay. Rearrange the adverbials of time so that they appear in the correct order. First one. She worked as a volunteer last month every day for 2 hours. What are the adverbials of time here? Last month, every day for 2 hours. So last month tells you when something happened. So that is actually the time. Right? Every day. Every day tells you how often. So that is the frequency. For 2 hours. That tells you for how long. That is the duration. Okay, so let's write the sentence accurately. She worked as a volunteer for 2 hours every day last month. All right, let me change that spelling. All right, so this is the correct one. Okay, let me fill that in. She worked as a volunteer for 2 hours every day last month. Next, okay, the original sentence, that's wrong. Okay, we publish a new issue of our magazine last year every month. Last year tells you when the magazine was published, so that tells you the time. Every month, so that tells you about how often, that is frequency. Okay, so let's do the correction. We published a new issue of our magazine every month last year. Okay, so that is the corrected sentence. Okay, next one. The Arts Festival for 7 years will run this year. So what are the adverbials of time? For 7 days, and then this year. So for 7 days tells you for how long, that's the duration. Okay, when this festival will run, that tells you the time. Okay, so is this order accurate? No. Okay, this for 7 years needs to go before that. So it would be the Arts Festival will run for 7 days this year. Okay, so that is for task A. Moving on, let's go to task B. Task B. Identify and underline the places where an error has been made in the use of adverbials of time. Indicate that how the error can be corrected in the correction column. If no error can be found, place a tick in the column. Okay. Now, let's identify the adverbials of time first, okay? Okay. For an hour, so that is duration. Over the last 3 months, that is the time. Every day, that tells me how often. So what is the error here? Okay, it will be here and here. Okay, write the correction. So this is actually correct, okay? For an hour, every day, over the last 3 months. I've been writing in my diary. Today I wrote. Seems correct. Put a tick. Okay. Continuously every hour, stopping only 2. Okay. So on every hour tells me about the frequency, and there seems to be the only one here, continuously. That actually tells me also the frequency. So wrote continuously every hour, or should it be I wrote every hour continuously? So it should be continuously every hour. Still correct. Okay, continue. Take a drink of water every now and then. Okay, every now and then. Correct. Okay, that tells me about the frequency. Again, I wrote about the festival that takes over this town. That takes over this town every year for 3 full days. Okay, yeah, every year that tells me how often. For 3 full days, that tells me for how long. That's the duration. And bring always tourists from here all over the world smoothly. Okay, should be always. Okay, that's the frequency. Bring tourists from all over the world monthly here. Monthly, that's the frequency as well. Okay, so this sounds right. So this one would be uh, for 3 full days every year, comma, and always bring tourists from all over the world. Wait, here monthly, or is it monthly here? Mm, let me think. Monthly here. All right. Okay. Let's take a look at task C. Task C. Write a 50-word paragraph describing an event you had experienced recently. Use them. Then underline the adverbials of time. Exchange your passage with friend and check your friend's work for errors. Okay. Here I have written something. Okay. Can you identify the adverbials of time? Let's use another color. Okay. Yesterday was the start of the home-based learning program. I log on to the student learning space to check our announcement. My teacher always posts announcements about assignments. On the first day of HBL, I studied for a full day, stopping only to eat some snacks and to sip some water. With HBL, I studied for about 6 hours daily from 6 a.m. onwards. I rarely see my friends unless we have video conferencing lessons. I will not be able to go to school for 1 month because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Since February, there are more than 1,000 local cases of COVID-19 in Singapore. I hope that this pandemic and my HBI will end soon so that I can meet my friend in real life often. Okay, as always. Okay, so write your own paragraph, and then you can video conference your friends and ask your friends to tell you what are the adverbs of time that they have identified.